Hi, my name is Nana Banaxi, and this is my presentation on the Animal Crossing balloon mechanic. So, Animal Crossing is a quite unrealistic game in that there are literal anthropomorphic talking animals, but one of the most unique features is the balloon mechanic, which has a lot of physics to it, and I'll be showing that now. History of the Animal Crossing balloon. The game Animal Crossing has always had the balloon mechanic, from the very first game, Animal Forest, a Japan exclusive game, all the way to the most recent game, New Horizons. The mechanic is simple. A balloon has a percent chance to float across the screen with a present, and the player has to shoot it down with a slingshot. So I like this mechanic because it's very unique to Animal Crossing. People can probably see this and tell you what game it's from, and then different colors show different things. So I quickly want to show an example of the in-game mechanic in the most recent game, New Horizons. So as you see, the player shoots it down with a slingshot and then collects the present, which holds a mystery inside. So an example of the mechanic is slingshot use built up elastic energy to shoot. This build up energy is potential energy. Depending on the slingshot, they can be as powerful as guns, which is why I thought testing this mechanic would be really fun. So here's an example of it showing how when you pull back the force in the distance, when you release all the potential energy and the tension, it will shoot really fast. Then here's an example of the Animal Crossing slingshot. Very simple wooden slingshot. So let me explain the physics we saw in the video of the game. Balloons pop when under a certain amount of pressure is put on them. Around 840 millimeters of mercury to pierce the rubber balloon. A balloon uses Boyle's law, where the air expands the rubber, causing the balloon to be easily popped. So as we see here, it shows that volume and pressure are indirectly proportional. So when the volume is greater, the pressure needed to pop it is lower, which basically means that bigger balloons like this will be easier to pop than smaller balloons like this because they're much bigger and the rubber will be a lot thinner. So calculating things. Thank you to this random person on Reddit who calculated the villager's height. So if the villager is 133.5 centimeters and the balloon is 3 villagers, the balloon is 267 centimeters above the villager. If we know the pressure needed to pop the balloon is 840 millimeters of mercury and the average area, no one saw that. And if the average area of a balloon, this is just the average, I looked up the average balloon size and it said 133.09 inches squared. Then if we rearrange the equation, if we rearrange this equation to calculate force, it'd be 840 millimeters per mercury over 113.09 inches squared. The force to pop a balloon would be 7.4277 newtons, which is around 1.6 pounds needed to pop a balloon. So after finding this information, I wanted to try and recreate the game. So I bought a slingshot and some balloons in an attempt to recreate the game scenario and see if it would work in real life. Here are the results. So this is test subject number 1. These are taken on my phone, so the quality isn't the greatest.
Hopefully the dog's gonna do these.
It's talking about the
Okay, I'm gonna try and pull it back really, really far. It went over there. Okay.
So as you can see, this is my very first attempt, and the pellet actually went flying all the way into my patio. So first attempt was a failure. It did not pop. So this was not proving that it was very successful, especially since I was so very close to it. But here was the second attempt. I was a bit closer.
Right next to it. If I could get this little pellet thing to work. Okay, if I pull back really far. Okay, next test subject.
So I tried this a couple more times off camera and it was just not popping. So I decided to just try a different test subject. Test subject number 2. So if you couldn't tell by my excited shout, I was very excited that this had actually popped because it was actually getting scared because the first test subject wasn't working, but then this one popped instantly, which I was very happy about. So as we saw, this balloon was a lot bigger than the previous one, which just shows my little hypothesis that like the Boyle's law comes into play. But I was extremely close to this one to actually get it to pop, so I did have a couple more test subjects.
So that from that way,
So I was testing like lengths needed to pop it. This one was smaller than the second one, so I needed to be closer, I saw. But here was the second attempt.
that scared me.
So as you can see, this one actually made me really happy because this one I wasn't expecting it to pop. That's why I got scared, or I got like jump scared because it popped. Is that this one was a lot smaller than the second one. So this like showed that Animal Crossing could be kind of realistic because it was smaller and still could be popped. But again, I was still really close. So, yeah. Wait, that's the same video. Is that the same video? That is the same video, except subject. I think this is my final test subject. And this is my biggest balloon I had.
That was cool.
So this one, I was actually like pretty far away. Like I was like over here off camera, and I was still able to shoot it. But this was also my biggest balloon. Oh, I dropped something on my desk. So this is where Boyle's law comes into play, as in like the bigger balloon popped easier, but it still proves that Animal Crossing could be realistic if the balloon was just a lot bigger. So I went back to test subject number 1, you know, the balloon that just didn't pop, that really discouraged me. I went back to it and was like, now with this new information, I could maybe pop this one. So I tried again.
Okay, one more time.
I tried this a good amount of times after this, and it wasn't popping. It kept flying around my hold thing for this umbrella. And you could hear I scoffed because I was getting annoyed that it wasn't popping. So I decided to get some revenge, and you'll see what I mean.
3, 2, 1.
It's an air rifle. It's not a real gun, but I did eventually end up popping it with something else other than a slingshot. So does this prove or disprove Animal Crossing? So as we see from this clip, this slingshot, it moves really fast. Like if it goes super fast. It goes whoo. So it honestly depends on the rubber of this balloon. Because if the rubber of this balloon is like really thin and it has like Boyle's law like accuracy in Animal Crossing, and the balloon rubber is really thin and the balloon's just really big, then yes, I do think that Animal Crossing would be realistic and that the balloon would pop and it would fall. But it honestly just depends on the material and the size of the balloon, which is hard to calculate when the character is like this and the houses are bigger on the outside than the inside. So I couldn't calculate size comparisons just because of how disproportionate Animal Crossing is. But I fully think with my little experiment that if there was a balloon to fly across, like just randomly at my house, if a balloon were to fly in the sky, I could shoot it down with a slingshot. So yeah, I say that Animal Crossing is a fully realistic game and everyone should go play it. It's very fun.